So, James Gunn's new DC Cinematic Universe starts up this year with Creature Commandos for some reason, and I don't think it's going to turn out well. I haven't seen anyone be negative about the new DCU yet, which kind of makes sense. It hasn't really started yet, but I wanted to share my thoughts on why I don't think it's going to be good. Now, before we dive into that, I just wanted to say that I am not a huge Snyder fan. I think Zack Snyder makes good movies sometimes. I think James Gunn makes good movies sometimes. I don't think James Gunn is going to fail because of the Snyderverse or whatever. Now, when James Gunn was announced as the co-CEO of DC Studios, I thought that was a good pick. Gunn is very openly passionate about comics, and he's a great choice for being the CEO of the creative side of DC. But ideally, I think he should just stick to being the guy in the throne. Just call the plays, give us the lineup, pick what movies are based on what comics, all that kind of stuff. Just be Kevin Feige. Maybe have a little corner where he works on his Suicide Squad and Peacemaker stuff, but for the most part, don't get too creatively involved. I don't like when CEOs try to make the movies themselves. I like it when filmmakers actually get to make the film, and obviously James Gunn is a filmmaker, but that's not what he was hired to do here. And I knew he was going to be directing something other than the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker, but I really didn't want him to. Honestly, I don't want him working on Suicide Squad or Peacemaker either. This needs to be a 100% complete reboot, not carrying over a single thing from the DCEU, because if you're going to screw Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck over, you need to screw everyone else over too. You can't keep your buddies. And what makes this worse is that we don't even know who exactly is staying. We know the Peacemaker gang is staying, along with Viola Davis as Amanda Waller, but is the rest of the Suicide Squad staying? Is Idris Elba gonna continue to play Bloodsport? Margot Robbie says she doesn't want to be Harley Quinn anymore. What's going on? And how is Peacemaker staying? Jason Momoa and Ezra Miller literally show up in the finale of the show. Are they staying? Maybe Peacemaker Season 2 is in the DCU, but the first season isn't, and they aren't connected. Maybe Peacemaker Season 2 is in the DCEU after all. But you can't just continue the previous universe alongside this one like that. And in that video James Gunn made announcing the DCU lineup, when he talked about the Elseworld movies and shows, Peacemaker wasn't mentioned. But I have a very easy answer as to why this is all so confusing. James Gunn has a huge ego and doesn't actually have a plan. He's just thinking of stuff that will be cool with no real sequence or connection, hoping it sticks to the wall. Now, I want to talk about the lineup for Chapter 1 of the DCU, Gods and Monsters. Yeah, this lineup sucks. This whole thing is starting with Creature Commandos, and I just want to ask, who are the Creature Commandos? I look at the team lineup from the comics, and the only one I know here is the Atom. Why are we starting this universe with this? Why are we making this at all? James Gunn loves characters no one cares about, and I do too, kind of, but he's just not taking this job seriously enough. Can you guys imagine if Kevin Feige started the MCU with like Night Thrasher or Slapstick? Now you're probably asking, who are Night Thrasher and Slapstick? And exactly. Anyways, this show introduces another problem I have. James Gunn loves his brother too much. I have a brother. I think he's pretty cool, but I wouldn't cast my brother as 4 characters in the same universe. Sean Gunn is playing G.I. Robot and reprising his role as Weasel in Creature Commandos, which shows that the Suicide Squad is canon. Sean Gunn played Calendar Man in the Suicide Squad, which I hope they recast Calendar Man and actually give him something cool to do, because he's actually a pretty cool villain in the comics. And Sean Gunn is also playing Maxwell Lord in Superman. That's just way too much. I know he might not be coming back as Calendar Man, but he also might, and I hope not. And also, it's pretty unlikely that his Creature Commandos characters will interact with Maxwell Lord, and even if they do, it's not that big of a deal because 2 of those characters would be CGI, but I don't care, it's too much. And yes, James Gunn did say that characters will be played by the same actors in live action and animation. But yeah, I don't care about Creature Commandos that much. It probably won't tie into anything. I'll check it out, but my hopes aren't too high. Now, let's talk about the films that will be in this universe. So we're gonna skip Superman for now and talk about The Authority. The Authority is a DC Comics imprint, which means it's made by a company that DC owns, in this case, Wildstorm. I think it's pretty cool that we're getting imprints in this universe, actually. I think that expands the possibilities, and I'm excited to see what that brings. For the Authority themselves, I have no knowledge of them. I'll watch the movie, but that's basically all I got here. James Gunn did say that this would tie into Superman, though, which is cool, I guess. I don't really care. Next up, Brave and the Bold. Oh boy. I don't think this one's gonna be very good. First off, Andy Muschietti is directing this film. I've only seen 2 of his movies, those being It and The Flash, and I like those movies, but he doesn't really add much to them. He has no sauce, you know? You can get this guy to direct your movie, and it'll probably be fine, but he's not adding anything. He's not doing anything special. The other reason I'm scared for this movie, Batman already has his Damian, which you don't have to do the origin again, but I would like for this movie to at least be somewhat early in his career. But no, we're skipping Dick, we're skipping Jason, we're skipping Tim, and I don't like that. Actually, no, skip Tim, he sucks. Maybe we'll see Dick as Nightwing and Tim as Red Robin or something in this movie, but I would just prefer to start with Dick. Also, I'm kind of nervous about who's going to be casted as Batman. I wouldn't be opposed to Jensen Ackles. I really like him, not necessarily as Batman, but just as a guy.
Tell me about Supernatural. What can we expect? Well, nothing, because it's over.
Whoever it is, I just pray it's not Alan Richardson. Next up, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. I haven't read the comic of the same name that this is based on, but it sounds cool. Millie Alcock will be playing Supergirl, and I haven't seen any of her work, so yeah, that's all I got here. Swamp Thing. This one might be cool. This is going to be based on Alan Moore's Swamp Thing, which I also have yet to read, but I've heard nothing but incredible things. Alan Moore is obviously great. I need to read more of his work. I've only read The Killing Joke so far, but I absolutely adored it. Swamp Thing isn't a character I know much about, but he seems cool, so there's that. And we have James Mangold directing. He made Logan. I like Logan. I have high hopes for this one. Now, the most recently announced film, Teen Titans. We know nothing about this, but this should not be in the first chapter. This works better for chapter 2. Cinematic universes should not have TV shows. It just clutters stuff, makes everything confusing. It can be done well though. The MCU did it best with their Netflix shows and the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Those shows don't tie in too much, but they are canon. But Matt Murdock isn't showing up in Avengers saying, hey, remember when I fought Kingpin? But the DCU is not going to go that route. These shows will be mandatory watches to understand the movies, and that's dumb. Anyways, let's talk about the shows individually. We already discussed Peacemaker Season 2, so let's talk about Waller. This show does not need to exist. What is going to go down here? What threat is Amanda Waller going to be facing? I feel like we're just wasting resources here. It just seems like a pointless spin-off. Maybe Gunn thought of a really interesting story he wants to tell, but as of now, who cares? Next up, Lanterns, and this one is conflicting. This show is going to star Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart, and we can assume we'll meet some other Lanterns along the way, which is very cool. I'm very happy to see Hal in live action again and Jon in live action for the very first time. But this should be a movie. I extremely doubt the story they want to tell is too big for a movie. I feel like they're just stretching it out into a show for no reason other than to sell a streaming service. I could totally be wrong about that though, but Green Lantern deserves a big budget theatrical film. He's one of DC's most iconic and most important characters, and he doesn't deserve to be relegated to TV. Who knows though? I'm not saying this one will be bad. I could end up really liking it. I just prefer to watch it on the big screen. Paradise Lost is by far the most baffling project here. Why would you make a Wonder Woman spinoff before a Wonder Woman movie? She's DC's third biggest character. She needs a movie right off the bat. And yeah, I know Gal Gadot had a Wonder Woman movie 4 years ago, but I don't care. I want a movie about Wonder Woman, not a show about what was going on in Themyscira before she was born. This one's gonna be lame. And finally, Booster Gold, and this one I'm not gonna complain about. Well, for the most part. Booster Gold isn't a character I've read. I know nothing about him except that he's a speedster time traveler, at least I think. Anyway, Booster Gold isn't a huge character that needs a movie. I'm okay with him getting a show instead. However, again, not sure if this needs to be in chapter 1. So yeah, this one might be good. I'm intrigued. So, I'm a lazy person, and this video has taken so long just because of that, but we actually got a rumor about Booster Gold that I thought was worth mentioning. Supposedly, Kumail Nanjiani will be playing Booster Gold, and that is, like, why? Why are you doing this? My main and really only issue with this casting is that this man is 46 years old. I know James Gunn is going to want to keep Booster Gold around for 10, 15 years, you know what I mean? You can't be a superhero for 10 to 15 years when you're already 46 when you start the character. And actually, this show might not come out for a few years, so he might be 50 by the time he actually plays the character. This casting's horrible. Please prove me wrong. I said I was looking forward to the show. I don't really care after this casting. If it's true, of course, because it very well could just be a rumor, and I hope that's what it is, because this casting is not great. Anyways, back to the the video. Now, before we talk about Superman, I want to bring up something James Gunn said in his video. He said that video games will be canon to the DCU, and this is by far the dumbest idea I've ever heard. Now, I love video games a lot. I have hundreds. And I love movies a lot. I also have hundreds of those. But these two mediums should not cross paths like this. I think TV shows make things messy. This would be the mother of all messes. But on the bright side, I doubt this will actually come to fruition. It's gonna be like the Suicide Squad game. They said that abysmal thing was canon to the Arkham games just so people would buy it. It's gonna be like that. If they actually make DCU games, which I doubt they will, they won't be mentioned in the movies. James Gunn played you guys. Now, for the big event, my thoughts on James Gunn's Superman. I don't think this movie is gonna be great, but I'm sure it'll be fine. The main thing is that I'm worried this movie is gonna be overstuffed. First, this movie is based on All-Star Superman, everyone's favorite book. Now, yes, this book is incredible. It is a must-read Superman comic, but everyone praises it so much, and I'm kind of sick of it. Easily a 10 out of 10 in my opinion, but can we praise a different book or something, like for all seasons? Anyways, this movie definitely isn't going to be an adaptation of All-Star Superman. We're way too early for that, but it'll probably take inspiration from scenes like when he saves the girl from jumping, which is cool. I like when characters like Superman and Spider-Man are connected to the community. Now, as for casting, we have David Cornsweet playing Superman. Seems fine. We also got to look at him in this suit, and ooh, I am not a fan of this suit. This looks like the Fortnite design. There's too many lines. It's not tight enough around him. It looks like they made it for Henry Cavill and couldn't afford to make another for David. Anyways, we have Rachel Brosnahan as Lois, and Nicholas Hoult will be playing Lex Luthor. He auditioned for Batman and Superman previously, so I honestly think they're just putting him here for pity. He's a great actor, but I don't think he fits this role as of right now. I hope I'm wrong though. Then we have the Engineer, a member of the Authority, Why is she in this movie? Like I said earlier, this movie ties into the Authority for some reason. We'll see why. I don't really care why, it's dumb. Anyways, we got Isabella Merced as Hawk Girl, which she's a fine actress, but why is Hawk Girl in this movie? But don't worry, that's not all of the irrelevant heroes we have. Eddie Gathegi as Mr. Terrific, Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner, and Anthony Carrigan as Metamorpho. Why are any of these guys here? These guys probably won't play a huge role in this movie, which is good, but they'll definitely be in it enough, because why would they have announced the casting so early if it was just a cameo? This is really dumb, and the exact reason why I think the DCU is gonna fail. James Gunn loves comics too much, and he wants to capture the big crossover aspect of comic books, which does not work well in film. He's gonna try to intertwine everything. There's gonna be characters no one except super geeks have ever heard of, projects about stuff said super geeks will only care about. It's gonna be a huge mess. Anyways, if it wasn't obvious, those few sentences I just said are exactly why I made this video. The rest was filler.
Good. That's what I wanted.
For the controversy?
Yeah.
And
They
for the
fell into my trap.
for the people who say that
I wanted everybody's attention.
Anyways, if you agree. Originally, the video was going to end right here, but I was thinking, and there's more I want to say. First off, this is too close to the previous universe. We should have taken a couple more years off, maybe start in like 2027. Starting this close kind of ends the possibility of some characters getting rebooted, like Flash and Aquaman, for example. They had films last year, and because of that, I don't think they're going to be in this series until it's too late. The optimal chapter 1 for this universe would be Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern focusing on Hal, but other lanterns can appear, Flash, specifically Barry Allen, Aquaman, and then Batman. And base that Batman movie on a mixture of Long Halloween and Dark Victory, include Robin and all that, and then do a Justice League movie with all those guys and Martian Manhunter. That's the original lineup in the comics, and that's the best lineup we've had. It's what we need. The other thing I wanted to say here is no one really cares about superhero movies anymore. They're on their way out. It's been a fad for 20 years now. We're lucky it lasted that long. People like to say there's no such thing as superhero movie fatigue, it's just bad movie fatigue, which I guess is true. People still saw Guardians 3, Cross the Spider-Verse, and The Batman, but those first two films were follow-ups to films that people really liked, and Batman is Batman. He's always gonna do well. People just don't want to see superhero movies that aren't sequels to the ones they like. What I think is gonna happen is this. We'll get Superman, it'll do well enough. We'll get Supergirl, it'll break even properly. We'll get the Authority, no one will care. We'll get Batman, it'll just be okay, but it'll make money. Maybe we'll get Swamp Thing, but that's probably it. No one cares anymore. Superhero movies have run their course. It's time for it to be over. Anyways, if you agree with me, let me know in the comments, and thanks for wasting your time with me. Stay sketchy.